Welcome back to the Sleuth Intuition channel. This is True Crime in the Morning. I'm your host, Patrick Vallejos. My friends call me Sleuth. Today we will be discussing the case of Jim Duckett. Now, this is definitely another mind-melting murder mystery, but it also led me down quite the rabbit hole. Remember, these folks, they need our help. This has been classified as a cold case. This case is out of Shelbyville, Kentucky. And Jim was murdered November 9th of 2008. Now, Jim was tied to a chair. He was brutally tortured for a long period of time. Then eventually he had his throat slit. So I might be a little late on this, but viewer discretion advised. Good to see everybody. Jari, GP, Doris, Wanda, Jill, Donna, Susan. Want to welcome Matlock to members. Welcome. And we are sponsored already by Donna Robinson. Thank you for that super sticker. So let's give a quick shout out to Matlock and Donna Robinson. Thank you, guys. I appreciate that. So are you guys familiar with this case? Good to see you, Dee. How are you? Sorry to hear that. Patricia, good to see you. Olivia. My guy Brad from Outside of the Grid. Go check him out. GP, it's snowing and blowing this morning. Yikes. Yeah, I saw a news report that Indiana was going to get hit pretty good with a blizzard, I think. So I hope you guys are hunkered down. Good morning, Beth. Good to see you. So are you guys familiar with the case of Jim Duckett? Let me know. Good to see you, Sensei. I am doing absolutely fab.
We do not train to be merciful here. Mercy is for the weak. Here, on the street, in competition.
That's for you, Sensei. Hey, what's up, Farmer? Delivering and listening and spinning on the frozen street in your souped up Supra. Hey, what's up, CJK? Yeah, that's true, CJ. Like I started out in the spirit and I kind of slumped a little bit, but now I'm popping back up. What's going on, Jill? Grunge Truck. Jerry. Katie. Charlotte. Daisy. Daisy said you mentioned a channel name change recently. Oh, the Sleuth Crew? Yeah, I mean, you can always change it back. But yeah, like, I'm not going. I'm just thinking out loud. True crime and other stuff. Welcome in. 63 Clocks, good morning. Con Air. My guy Phil, what's up? So you guys might want to strap in for this one. Might be dealing with a serial killer, in my opinion. And somehow I ended up with some stuff from the Stevenson case. So we're actually going to cover 3 cases that seem to possibly be related to Jim. I want to get your opinions on that. But we have the Stevenson case and the Oki Al-Kite case that may be connected. So quite the rabbit hole. This just in. Somebody was gifted 1 membership from 63 Clocks. So you guys might want to check your stockings. You may be officially be a member as of right now. And we do have a giveaway at the end of the month, the 27th. Upgraded members get 3 chances to win, and all members will get 2 opportunities to win. Hey, what's up, Joey? Phil says no. Yeah, Jill, you're in Indiana. Says it does look like a blizzard. Battling what? Yeah, you be safe out there, farmer. Eyes on the road, buddy. Be spending all your delivery money on a new axle when you go sliding and smash into that curb. Take her easy. Hey, anything I like? All right, guys, let's get going. I think we missed Cindy. Good to see you, Cindy. Not quite sure where I want to start with this case here. Maybe we'll go to the videos, and then I found a really great Reddit post. Maybe we'll do it that way.
Sister's call, she became worried, so she went to his Shelby County home to check on him.
But what she found when she got there is an image she's still trying to forget.
Duckett was dead, tied to a chair. He had been tortured. Detectives say the killer was caught on camera.
But now, 10 years later, still no arrest. Tonight, the unsolved teen tackles tied up and tortured.
Yeah, this is a crazy case. But I'm starting to think maybe thrill kill, make it look like a robbery, or just make that part of the fear.
In the back of this home,
this was a pretty gruesome crime scene.
Jim Duckett was alone.
They didn't just go and tie him to a chair and slit his
That's his sister right there.
throat. They tortured him.
Now, Jim was living in Germany. He's a Gulf War veteran, and he was also a crime scene investigator in Germany, and had recently moved to Shelbyville to be near his sister and her new family.
A veteran tied up and tortured.
And I remember screaming, they murdered him.
Jim Duckett was dead.
And Jim does have some kids. I found them on Facebook. They still live in Germany. And there are some posts on his son's Facebook about the case. And I don't know, maybe I'll attempt to reach out to that person and see if they want to talk about it.
His mischievous smile.
Pictures of more peaceful times.
Loved horses. He had just purchased a second one.
Catherine Nichols tries to remember him like that.
I still try to figure out how I got here. How I'm sitting here in front of a camera 10 years later. How there's not an arrest 10 years later. Again, how did this become my life, and how did my brother get murdered?
Still struggling to grasp reality. struggling with what she saw.
But then you just realize you're in a crime scene. And that's your brother's.
Catherine was the
Thank you, Joey. So she was very close with her brother. He wasn't answering her calls. She went to check up on him and discovered his body. Like I said, he was tied to a chair. He had been brutally beaten and tortured. Investigators won't say to what extent, but we do know he was tied to a chair. He was moved from room to room. Eventually, his ATM card was taken, and somebody stole his truck, tried to take the money out of his account. I'm not sure if they were successful or not. And this person was actually captured on video. But unfortunately, they had recently serviced that ATM, and whoever did not put the lens back in correctly. So, I mean, I don't think a killer would be that sophisticated, be an IT guy for the ATM, knowing that he, left that lens like that. Just throwing that out there, because this person also had a mask on. And this is what's going to tie us to another case later on in the live stream.
the first to find Jim.
And it's not like what you see in the movies. It's nothing like that.
When she hadn't heard
Hey,
from
Devoted.
him, she went to his home.
Thanks, Joey.
From what I remember, his bathroom was all white. But it wasn't white. His bathroom was it was blood everywhere.
She called 911 and ran out of the house.
It's a cute little house, too. And we'll take a look at that area as well, Shelbyville.
But she couldn't leave the scene, waiting, watching, hoping police would pick up
Yes,
that
Olivia.
perfect piece of evidence leading to the killer.
They always say there's 3 reasons for murder. And it's revenge, greed, or jealousy.
She had no idea then just how long that
Sounds
wait
about
would
right.
be.
You wait 2.5 years for DNA to come back. The police told me maybe 4 months for an arrest.
Okay, so in this case, they actually claim that they have DNA, but they're not doing anything with it. So I think the family, as of today, believes that they may have lost the DNA or have it contaminated. Because in the other case that we're going to look at, they actually have a suspect, they have DNA, and they actually went and got a profile from the genealogy, and they were able to kind of create a sketch and match it with the 2 witness sketches in a secondary case that I believe is connected to Jim's case here.
And I'm going on 10 years.
I'm Trooper Napier with the Kentucky State Police.
Detectives on the case call it complex.
So lead there.
These are the binders of the James Duckett murder case.
Documents describing in detail what they know about the crime.
So we don't think that this murder was random.
The documents also detail the killer.
The person or persons who murdered James Duckett, we think knew him and sought him out specifically.
Detectives keep certain clues they say could convict the criminal if ever charged.
So we have done an extensive investigation on this case.
The first clue, Duckett's truck.
And his home was robbed the October prior to his November 9th murder. And somebody came in and took all of his jewelry. So keep that in mind.
Missing from his home when investigators arrived.
Later that day, just miles from his home, hidden behind some office buildings, we discovered his stolen truck.
By that time, the killer was gone, but detectives still found clues left behind. DNA collected from the seats and door handle, and the truck caught on camera with the killer inside.
And we're going to try to analyze this at the very end of the live stream. We're going to see if we can clean this up just a little bit. We'll try to do it Delphi style with the same way we worked on the bridge guy video from one of the Delphi victims, Liberty German. She was able to capture her killer on camera. It was a real blurry image, and we've been able to find a little bit of success in clearing up some of the frames. Maybe we'll have some success here.
I have a suspicion of who
I
it
haven't
was,
tried yet.
but I couldn't swear on it.
Only minutes after stabbing Duckett to death, the killer took his ATM card to make a withdrawal.
His house is way out in the country, and instead of going to any ATM, they drove from his house.
Yeah, let's take a look at his property here. That we can get an idea of what she's referring to. So, I mean, that's kind of awesome, right? We don't want to see that yet.
All the way across town to his ATM.
That's where his face was captured. Another clue. But detectives say that picture was unclear.
Okay, so why did he go all the way across town? To me, that made me wonder, hey, was he working on that ATM? Was he the guy that worked on the ATM? I wonder if they looked into that angle. Maybe that's what he does for a living. Not quite sure. Just something that popped in my mind. Let me know what you guys think about that.
Several days prior to this event, that machine was
Thank you, Jerry.
maintenanced, and when it was put back together, the camera lens was put back on improperly.
Okay, what did he say here? How long ago? Hold on, sorry,
Several
guys.
days prior.
See, several days. Now, I'm assuming they went and checked on that guy. You know, because he could have just said, next time, you know, I service one of these ATMs, I'm going to leave the lens out. And that'll be the ATM that I come back to after my murder. Because this was obviously planned out. He brought his own vehicle to the crime, but took the victim's vehicle, probably while he was tied up in the home, maybe even already deceased, and went and used his ATM card. I want to give a shout out to Daisy for sponsoring today's live stream, along with Joey and Grizmatic coming through with the happy holidays. Merry Christmas to you, Grizz. Thank you.
To this event,
I appreciate that.
That machine was maintenanced, and when it was put back together, the camera lens was put back on improperly. So the images from that video are very fuzzy.
Coincidence? I'm not sure.
Difficult to make out.
At first, there was hope. Catherine calling for tips days after it happened.
I am begging you that if you know anything,
Poor Catherine.
to please call the state police.
But police never got
She's
the
in
tip
shock.
to secure an arrest.
We have tried to follow up on several leads, interviewed dozens and dozens of people trying to get to the bottom of this case. And thus far, it hasn't really led us anywhere to a solvable point in this crime.
They have walked the streets for 10 years. They've gone on with their life.
I think his sister would like folks to write letters to Shelbyville police to put pressure on them. I think that there's some issues going on with the DNA. They're not getting answers with it. There's so many things as far as technology and where we've come from 2018. With that DNA, there could be some huge breaks in this case. But their suspicion is that law enforcement may have lost that DNA, and they're not fessing up to that.
It's time for justice. Jim didn't deserve this. My family doesn't deserve this. My children
Exactly.
didn't
Move
deserve
from room
this.
to room.
And I
Okay, Olivia's, she's starting to catch up to where I'm at. Remember, Kentucky, we're talking an hour away from Florence, Kentucky, with the Stevenson case. Move from room to room, just odd activity coming and going, things like that.
sure didn't deserve this.
For now, she's left looking back on those better days.
He was,
Shelbyville, Kentucky,
He
Cindy.
was a good uncle. He was a good brother.
hoping her countdown for closure could be coming to an end.
Then you make it another year, and then you start over. And then you just pray for justice again.
That was WHAS11.com. It's their unsolved edition. So if you guys want to check that out, they have a whole bunch of cases, cold cases that they cover. WHAS Channel 11, WHAS11.com. All right, let's catch up on the chat. I have a couple of other videos, but I found a really great Reddit post. I don't want to get to it yet, but it was by Ancient Enemy 1972. It was posted 2 years ago. And they actually mentioned the case that I was looking at, and it really caught my attention. And I think you guys are going to trip out on it a little bit, or you can hopefully make it make sense for me and I can just stop thinking about it. But yeah, this was quite the rabbit hole. The case that I'm referring to is Oki Al-Kite, and that was out of Aurora, Colorado, May 22nd, 2004. And we'll talk about that in a little bit. Here's a little mini article that I grabbed. Looks like 5 years later. This was posted in 2013. The murder of Shelbyville veteran remains unsolved 5 years after the heinous crime. Today marks the 5th anniversary of Jim Duckett's murder. Duckett was found dead inside his Shelbyville home on November 9th, 2008. He was bound to a chair. His throat was slit. His sister, Catherine Nichols, told WDRB News this week that Kentucky State Police have interviewed persons of interest. So that's why I grabbed this article. I thought that was interesting. Persons of interest, but no arrests have been made. So I wonder what's going on with that. What made them interested in these persons? What was it? I wonder if they have a profile, if they're getting help from the FBI. Couldn't find anything on that. You know, they have the human behavior folks who analyze that and can create profiles and things like that based on the case facts. It says here, she believes the killers have long since left the Shelby County area. She says whoever did this must have known her brother. Nichols says the suspect stole a personal item of Jim's as a trophy of sorts. Wow. Anyone with information is asked to call Kentucky State Police. Yeah, guys, I think we're dealing with the serial killer here. You know, I think the robbing them is just something that they do. You know, a little bit of spending cash, maybe to get to the next state, get out of state. Maybe to mislead investigators. But I have a feeling this person might be related to these other cases and enjoys the thrill of the kill. And I don't know so much if Coy Cox with the Stevenson case was interested in thinking that the Delphi case was part of his, but I think they may have been on the trail of a serial killer. I think they still are. Yep, Shelbyville, Kentucky. Take a look at Shelbyville. These are just Google images. Yeah, Violet, very crazy what happened to Jim here. At first, I thought maybe it was somebody that knew him, knew he had money. They were going Christmas shopping. They were seeing him spend. They had just robbed him. But I'm thinking that the killer robbed him and decided to target him. You know, we might be dealing with some kind of hobo trucker. You know, somebody that just as a ways and means to get by, they break the law constantly. Petty robberies, thefts, things like that. as a minor thing. Might be dealing with a really dangerous person here. Because in the other case, he targeted his victim because he was looking for a roommate. Let's finish these videos and then we'll get into that Reddit post. This one's titled Large Reward Offered in Cold Case of Slain Shelbyville Man.
No arrest in the brutal murder of a Shelbyville man.
With the case now cold, Kentucky State Police are reintroducing it to the public with hopes of a new break in this case. WLKY's Ann Bowden has worked with investigators on profiling the story. She joins us now with more. Ann?
Well, Rick and Vicki, even when we did this story last October, Kentucky State Police said they had leads, they had evidence, but they also had missing links. They believe someone in earshot of this broadcast knows something and knows key information that could tie it all together. So to help, they are trying to post a substantial cash reward for.
See, I don't know if anybody would know. We might be dealing with like a single lone wolf type killer who travels a lot. And we know that there's over 500 unsolved cases along the United States highways, and they have handfuls of suspects. All of them are most of them are truckers. All these people that go missing end up dumped on the highways or somewhere nearby a highway. FBI believes these are all serial killers who have chosen the career as a truck driver for obvious reasons, right? You're in one city and you're out to the next. No connection to the crime. You can target online, somebody who's looking for a roommate, somebody leaving intimate details online. You're going to be there next month. You'll have a week off. Spend that week targeting your victim, getting in that kill. It seems like some of these serial killers, which I think, that might be what's going on here. They get off on that kill, the power. It makes them like a god. They're not going to stop doing that. They're not going to stop being a god. Why would they ever give that up? Something psychologically is wrong with these folks, and when they do these types of crimes, they feel invincible for that moment, and they do totally destroy these victims. And we know that it's all about power for them, right? But I believe that Jim was killed by a sophisticated killer. At first, I wondered if it was somebody close to him targeting him, and then maybe staging it, making it look like it's something that it's not. Then you have him recently moving from Germany, where he was a crime scene investigator. Did something follow him? And then also in the other case that we're going to look at, the suspect is said to have an East European accent. So I found that to be another connection, and we'll get into that here in a minute.
Information.
We're grieving, and we can't even move on until there's an arrest.
4 years ago, Friday, November 9th, 2008, 48-year-old Jim Duckett had just finished a day of Christmas shopping with his sister, Catherine Nichols, and rounded out the day with the rest of his family of nieces and nephews. But after that day, his family didn't hear from Jim again.
That's when all this nightmare started. That's when I found him.
Concerned by his sudden silence, family went to his home and found a horrific scene.
He was
Exactly,
tied to his
Sensei.
kitchen chair. They had put him in his bathroom. He was stabbed multiple times, and his throat was cut.
From the beginning, police believe the person responsible went into an uncontrollable rage against Duckett, perhaps suffering from a disorder or desperate frame of mind. The crime showed extreme anger. The fear is that mind is still out in public.
He was tortured. He was brutalized for hours before they cut his throat.
After his murder, police say someone illegally activated Duckett's ATM card and drained his account. The bank drive-through camera caught an image, but it was too dark to identify the suspect, who was also driving Duckett's silver Dodge pickup that was stolen.
I'm hoping that somebody, I don't want to say he's going to have a heart, but someone's going to have some compassion. Someone's going to finally say enough's enough and make the call.
Now, that is not always easy to make that call that she mentioned or to make that first step, but state police and family are offering an incentive, a significant cash reward for information leading to arrest in this cold case. Now, how much is significant? Well, police won't exactly say, but the original reward was $10,000, so it could be more than that. If you have any information, you are asked to call the KSP Frankfurt Post at 502-222-2221. Ann Bowden,
All right. Did you guys get that number? 502-222-2221. So if you guys have any information that might lead to an arrest or help investigators in Jim's case, call that number. What's up, Chico's? Creatures of habit, maybe his local ATM. Yeah, I mean, why would he be worried about a camera if he's got his face covered and he's in the victim's vehicle? But remember, the other case that we're going to look at is from 2004, and it's eerily similar. And this person was caught on an ATM camera wearing almost identical clothing and face covering, hat, everything, almost down to the T. But this was a very clear image. Person was in the victim's vehicle and took out $1,000. Stabbed that victim and slit his throat. I do have some more. Maybe we'll watch this last one. Looks like it's
a murder out of Shelby County is a cold case Kentucky State Police hope
added
you
it
can
for a
help
reason.
them solve. With tonight's cold case report, here is WLKY's Ann Bowden.
Probably because I like that guitar.
We're looking for any type of information on this Duckett murder case
Sounds like
here in
a
Shelby
10
County.
string.
And so are members of Jim
Steel
Duckett's
guitar.
family who've lived with his torturous, unsolved
Steel
murder.
acoustic.
This is 3 years we're grieving, and we can't even move on until there's an arrest.
On November 9th, 2008, 43-year-old Jim Duckett had just finished a day of Christmas shopping with his sister, Catherine Nichols. They had lunch, and then he spent the rest of the day with his nieces and nephews.
So yeah, Con Air seems to agree with you about the ATM. You might be familiar with it. Creature of habit. That's a good thought, guys.
Took care of everybody.
But after the day of fun, Jim Duckett fell silent. He didn't show up to church the next day, go for a scheduled trail ride with his friends on his new saddlebred, or call his sister, which he did at least 3 times a day. Catherine Nichols said her sister instinct told her something was very wrong. When he didn't return her calls or others, she used the key she had to her brother's house and went looking for him.
That's when all this nightmare started. That's when I found him.
Oh, did you get it,
Catherine
Cindy?
Nichols said the horrific image she found is burned deep in her soul.
He was tied to his kitchen chair.
Thanks, Joey. Joey says, Sleuth, you're very welcome. You do great work, and your channel is the best. Yeah, I really appreciate that super sticker, Joey. I mean, I really couldn't do this without you guys. You know, for people who are in a career and trying to do YouTube, if you're going to spend more time doing YouTube, you have to find a way to supplement your income if you're going to take away time from what you've been doing in order to do these things. So I need to tell you guys, this is a completely crowd-funded thing here. The majority of any income I make off my channel comes from donations and memberships. Very small portion comes from the views and the shared revenue. So you guys are funding everything. I wouldn't be able to do True Crime in the Morning. I wouldn't be able to do my Delphi coverage. I wouldn't be able to do any of it like I am now. You know, we can always do fly-by-night live streams once or twice a week or just randomly, you know, completely unorganized. But honestly, guys, without you, I wouldn't be able to spend the amount of time, you know, with all the bills, the mortgage, multiple car payments, all that stuff. I would just have to stay and focus on my career to make sure that that's taken care of. But the amount of time that I spend on YouTube is allotted because of you. So shout out to you guys.
They had put him in his bathroom. He was stabbed multiple times, and his throat was cut.
A crime state police say shows anger and intent.
It was
He was tortured. He was brutalized for hours before they cut his throat.
For
as we
hours.
got out there,
Just like the Stevenson case.
I ran into my stepdad was the first person I saw, and what's going on? You know, I don't understand. You know, they told me this, and there's police everywhere, and the crime scene tapes going up, and I'm looking for my mom, and I'm like, what did you see?
Yes,
What
Olivia.
is going on? Tell me everything.
Police say there was one witness to the crime. Bo,
What's up, Frank?
Jim's dog. At the time,
That's
only
Bo.
7 months. Now, almost 4.
Poor Bo.
Police found him traumatized, locked in a room. To this day, Jim's surviving family says he exhibits fits of fear.
It has changed me forever. It has changed my opinion of mankind, my trust. My brother was a very trusting person as well.
Yeah, we learned a lot about that darkness from Jeff Buziak when he was kind enough to give us that interview about his daughter Lindsay's murder. He talks about that darkness and losing that faith in humanity.
As a man who experienced a hard life but pulled himself into success as a Gulf War veteran and a private contractor, his sister said he liked to help those who were struggling to come out of a life of crime. He kept his door open to them.
Okay, now doesn't that sound a lot like the Stevenson case? Here, let me run that back.
As a man who experienced a hard life but pulled himself into success as a Gulf War veteran and a private contractor, his sister said he liked to help those who were struggling to come out of a life of crime. He kept his door open to them. His sister fears.
Just like Bill. Just like Bill Stevenson. I can't shake how similar these cases are. It's making me crazy.
That may have cost him his life. Police say someone stole his truck the night of the murder. It was later found at a local bank where his ATM card was used and his account depleted. His home had also been burglarized a week before his murder.
I'm hoping that somebody, I don't want to say he's going to have a heart.
I think I saw Jamie
Someone's
just
gonna
recently.
Have some compassion.
She
Someone's
commented
gonna
on a
finally
video.
Say enough's enough and make the call.
For Jim's family,
Thank you,
hope
Farmer.
is dwindling. They say
Appreciate
the
you.
pain of his murder is numbing, but they're trying another strategy.
$10,000, if that's what it takes. I'll give whatever I have.
Unfortunately, I don't think that there's anybody that's going to be able to turn this person in. They're going to have to, I think it's going to be old-fashioned police work that catches this guy. I think we're dealing with the lone wolf, somebody who doesn't need to share what he's doing. He doesn't need any of the attention. He gets his gratification from that kill. So when they were explaining how this person went into a rage, I think that was all part of his ritual or whatever he does. He goes mad and goes into that Dexter stage. The moment that he's preparing to for the final blow.
This poster now stands in the small town of Shelbyville, posting a $10,000 reward for information leading to an arrest and conviction in Jim's murder, an ending the family is trying to believe in.
Daisy says male perpetrator for sure. Did Jim date ladies or men? Ladies, I believe. He was recently he has kids, and I think they did comment on another article. Law enforcement stated that they looked into that, if he was dating anybody or if there was any relationships, and they didn't find any information. So good comment, Daisy.
Think about it, and you want to get to that point where you want to laugh and you want to smile and you want to remember those happy times. But you can't, because there's still so many other things that are behind all of that that you can't even get to that stage.
It's always been my job to take care of them. And until this is done, I'm still going to take care of them.
You never know, just the least bit of information that someone might have might be the final puzzle, the piece of the puzzle, so that we can solve this case.
It's a nice reward. Yeah, so they need to get busy on that DNA. DNA was collected. We heard it right there on the vehicle. Sounds mostly like touch DNA. Maybe scraped off the wrist. I'm not sure because apparently this guy had gloves on. So I think we'll transition over into that Reddit post. And that'll kind of be the beginning of this rabbit hole we're about to go on. It's like he's receiving his honorable discharge. You know, he was active duty in the Gulf War and stayed in Germany. I believe he even started a family there or took his family there. I'm not quite sure. But I know that his son still lives in Germany because I took a look at his Facebook and he was talking a little bit about the case publicly there. Him and his sister. He loved horses. I believe he had 2 horses. Yeah, I don't know, Violet. I mean, it would be scary. I think investigators need to have more programs that provide safety for witnesses. And here was him caught on the ATM. I have the video. I think we're going to analyze it right at the end of the live stream. We'll pull it into my program. That's how they caught the guy. They're looking for him right now. I think his name was Richard Cooper, I believe. This was the best street view I could find. So, I mean, this is kind of the home. I don't know if you were like a peeper, like a peeping Tom type. You could just kind of hide out in these bushes back here, I guess, and just watch him. What was it, the movie Red Dragon, where the guy went up inside the tree and he was watching the family from the backyard? Thank you, Jari. If you guys want to shoot me an email, sleuthintuition@gmail.com. Hey, there's Jamie. There you go. In the flesh. If picking a random victim, it's not some big guy like this, why target him? So bizarre. I don't know. I think there's other reasons. You know, some serial killers, they might want a challenge. You know, you got to get inside this killer's head. You know, what drives him? Who is he? What would drive a person to do the things that we've just learned about? Who does that? Be nice to know what the FBI has to say about that. You know, let's hear about a profile. To me, it looks like a white male. He doesn't look very tall. He's kind of slumped down in that chair. So he's a short person. Good to see you, Jamie. If it was personal and it's not some psycho killer, and it was money motivated, I do see like there could be more people. His family doesn't know everything about him. He's a single guy. Who knows? Maybe he met a woman a few days ago and invited her out on a date or something. She was targeting him. It's Christmas. He's out shopping. He's spending all this money, giving the appearance. So maybe he was targeted at one of these shopping malls or something like that. Okay, so this was a great Reddit post. I think we're going to read it in its entirety because it has everything to do with what we have planned for this live stream. This was posted by Ancient Enemy 1972. Kind of see the name there at the top. Yeah, this crime is extremely horrific. And at first I was getting kind of robbery vibes, maybe a close friend, family member targeting him, torturing him, because we know in the Blue Moon murders this happened. He tied up his family, tortured his mom for the code to the safe. So we know family members are capable of this. But those weren't for some reason I'm not getting that feeling here. I'm feeling like the whole robbery was just a cover up for something much more sick. I'm thinking it was a thrill kill, and it was disguised as a robbery, or robbery was just there, so I'm going to do it. I'm going to take some extra money. I have a feeling petty crime was something on a daily for this person. Might even be how they get around. State to state, I'd be looking for lots of petty crime. And maybe some peeping toms. Cindy only took the truck to go to the ATM. And they found the truck at the very near that ATM. So if the truck was there, he abandoned it. That kind of makes me wonder if a second party followed him in another vehicle. Or maybe he lives near there. How did he get to the crime scene? Because we know that he went to an ATM that was very far away. He could have gone to to an ATM much closer. He chose this one. Why? Does he live near that ATM? Did he ever go back to the crime scene after that? Or did he go there, dump the vehicle, and then make his escape? So either he lives near the crime or near that ATM, or somebody was following him in another vehicle. Or knowing that nobody knew that the killer was dead, he was able to make his way back to the crime scene. I couldn't find a timeline on that. Sorry, guys. I'm just kind of shouting out some of the thoughts that I have. Okay, this one's titled The November 9th, 2008 Murder of James Jim Duckett out of Kentucky. James was found dead inside his Shelbyville, Kentucky home on November 9th, 2008. He had been bound to a chair, tortured, beaten, and his throat was slit. After the murder, police say that the killer activated Duckett's ATM card and drained his accounts. The Shelbyville, Kentucky Fifth Third Bank's drive-through camera caught an image, but it was too dark to identify the suspect, who was also driving Duckett's silver Dodge pickup and appeared to be wearing a mask. Duckett's pickup was located about a mile from his home with the keys in it. Okay, so this is kind of clearing up some of the questions we just had. Duckett's pickup was located about a mile from his home. See, this is a piece of the information that I'm confused on, because they said it was found near the ATM, but that the ATM was nowhere near his home. So I wonder if this piece of information is accurate. Mr. Duckett was a decorated Army veteran who served several years of active duty in Desert Storm. And after he retired from the military due to an injury, he relocated to Germany where he became a crime scene investigator. Later in life, he moved to Shelbyville, Kentucky to be close to his sister, Catherine Nichols, and her children. Catherine Nichols said that she usually spoke to her brother more than once a day and considered him her best friend. They had gone shopping the day he was likely murdered, Saturday, and didn't think that anything seemed out of the ordinary that day. She tried to reach him Saturday evening but got no answer. After not being able to reach him on Sunday, she went to his home and found his truck gone. She entered his home and found him deceased, tied to a chair that was placed in his bathroom. His puppy, a rescue, was found secured in a separate room and was unharmed. Catherine did say that about a month before his murder, he mentioned that he was considering moving. His home had been burglarized while he wasn't at home a few weeks before his murder, and she thought that was the reason he was considering selling his home and moving. She felt that in the last month of his life he had seemed off, but she was unsure why. Daisy's asking, did he know something he shouldn't or owe money? Not sure, but the sister's saying he did seem a little off. Now, I don't know. Maybe he was lying about the reason he left Germany. Maybe he was running from something. Or coming back to the country, back to the States, to take part in something. And just something that helped him make that decision was the fact that his family and his sister and his niece and nephew were there. Olivia's asking, were there neighborhood cameras then? I'm not sure. Police are being very tight-lipped about this. They're not talking about the DNA at all. Thank you, Cindy. Yeah, that'd be cool to be like a full-time YouTuber. Not quite there yet. Yeah, that poor dog. All right, let's go into these theories here. So theory one from this Redditor, did the people who had robbed him previously come back and torture him for the money in his checking account? That's their theory number one. How would they know that he had money? And it doesn't seem like it was a large amount. See, right there, you're committing a murder. You're risking your entire life for a small amount of money. Not likely. While I know that people are killed every day for trivial reasons, you have to look at the torture here. That is over the top. He was beaten and his throat was slashed. See, that's the part I want you guys to focus on. Why do all of that? I know if you're trying to get information from somebody, they're not willing to talk. This guy's a tough guy, Gulf War veteran. He's no pushover. That seemed like overkill for robbery. I haven't seen anyone say that he was involved in anything shady, and it doesn't appear that he was seeing anyone romantically. If he was, I haven't seen it mentioned anywhere. I haven't seen anything to hint at that. Theory two, and I tend to agree with this. Was this some kind of a thrill kill, and the money was just a bonus? That's what I think. The killer seems to have planned out this murder carefully and wore gloves and a mask, so I'm not seeing a drug-crazed or mentally ill person who lost their mind and killed somebody. I agree with that. Okay, here we go. So these guys went down the same rabbit hole. Possible connection in 2004. Now, I was looking for similar cases, and Oakley popped up, and that's where I found this Reddit post here. I've seen it mentioned a few times that this may be the same killer who tortured and killed Oki Al Kite in Aurora, Colorado, on or around May 22nd, 2004. Mr. Kite is suspected to have been killed by Robert Cooper, a man who answered an ad for a room for rent in Kite's home. Mr. Kite was found in a bedroom in the basement of his home. He had been hogtied with cords, with very specific ligatures and knots. He was also horrifically tortured and beaten. The killer had inserted an ice pick-like object in his ears and possibly his eyes. Both of his feet had been severely beaten with noticeable marks and injuries. He was stabbed and his head had several blunt force trauma injuries. The killer stole Mr. Kite's truck and used his ATM card to withdraw $1,000. On the ATM video, he is shown to be wearing a mask and gloves. His truck was found abandoned a few miles from his home. Very similar. Mr. Cooper was described by witnesses to be white and in his 40s or 50s, and sometimes walked with a cane. Some people described him as having a Romanian accent. They do have DNA in this case. He is believed to be associated with the Turkish Hezbollah due to a similarity in foot flogging techniques used by the perpetrator on his victim and the techniques utilized by this organization. Witness statements and perpetrators' DNA profile also link him to the Balkan area. There are definitely similarities between these murders due to the torture, but I also see differences in the types of torture. The killer of Mr. Kite seemed more controlled, and the crime scene was less messy than the Duckett crime scene. These murders happened 1,200 miles from each other. Not that killers don't travel, and about 4 years apart. So I disagree with that part. If very similar, right? You got the slitting of the throat, you got the torture, multiple hours, you got the stealing of the truck, going to the ATM, and then the truck being found near the victim's home, not far, right? Same MO. Now, if this happened in 2004, the author of this Reddit post here is basically saying, well, it's different. To me, I see a killer who could be evolving, right? He's much better now. He made mistakes before. This time, not so much. Okay, so let's go into Oki Kite Jr.'s case. I think I do have one video here. And then a couple articles. Oh, it looks like I grabbed an overview too. This is from the FBI flyer. Possibly the suspect has an Eastern European accent. On May 25th, 2004, the body of 53-year-old Oki Albert Al Kite Jr. was discovered in the basement of his residence in Aurora, Colorado. Kite had been bound, beaten, tortured, and stabbed. Kite's wallet and cell phone were taken from the scene. An unidentified male attempted to use his debit card at an ATM following the murder. Surveillance video from the ATM shows a male wearing a ski mask driving Kite's pickup truck, which was later recovered near Kite's residence. Kite's cell phone was discovered in a payphone booth. A male who rented a room from Kite prior to his murder is the primary suspect in this case. The renter, who identified himself as Robert Cooper, claimed to be from the East Coast and to work for Wells Fargo Bank. He provided false identification and contact information on his rental application. Witnesses generally describe the suspect male as white, in his 40s or 50s, 5'10", 170 to 180 pounds, with black or brown hair. Witnesses reported that he walked with a limp and used a cane, and another reported that he spoke with a possible Romanian accent. Wow. So I wonder if the limp was just to kind of lower your defenses a little bit. You know, kind of like the usual suspects. Here's a quick little video.
Police say he had no intention of ever living in the home. He killed the homeowner, not for the money. They believe he did it for the thrill.
It's been 15 years since Al Kite was tortured and brutally murdered. And tonight, Liz Gilardi shows us how new technology is bringing new hope to this case.
He was just selected by this killer.
Targeted Jamie.
And then tortured.
His hands were elaborately tied to his ankles.
Stabbed 22 times.
Cut his throat, almost severed his head.
Cut his throat.
Details about a crime scene that are just as vivid as the day Detective Tom Sobieski responded.
A lot of trauma. The coroner felt it went on for hours.
Police found Oakley Al Kite Jr. in the basement of his Aurora townhome.
Coroner believes he was tortured for multiple hours. So we have, I believe, the same MO with this case as Duckett's and the Stevenson case, where these people are doing weird things. They're coming and going. Very strange.
On May 22nd, 2004. He never showed up for work. His girlfriend couldn't believe it when she heard the word murder.
The first thing I thought of was the roommate.
It's the first thing investigators thought of too.
So we knew it was the renter who was probably our suspect. And he probably killed him with his own kitchen knives.
Detectives found those knives in his sink, sitting.
Daisy says maybe druggie would love to steal some jewelry to pawn, or maybe somebody just trying to finance something, right? I think somebody who looks at petty crime as just, you know, day-to-day activity. Stealing jewelry may not be anything. They may not have been targeting him, but after they committed that robbery and successfully fenced the stuff to get their money, maybe that's when they said, well, it was very easy for me to do what I did. Maybe when I go do my next kill, that'll be where I go.
In bleach, along with a key that Al gave to the renter.
Yes.
Girlfriend Linda Angelopoulos remembers Al taking out an ad in the paper listing his basement for rent. And she remembers something odd about a man who looked at the place.
The night the guy came over, I also came over.
Linda walked in, went to the bathroom, and he was gone. Looking back now, she doesn't think the man wanted her to see him.
Well, yeah, I think that's what happened. I mean, he's walking out the
Could
door.
be,
He didn't even
Sensei.
turn around to say hi, bye, or anything. And how long does it take to go to the bathroom and wash your hands?
That's
Wearing rubber
not all.
gloves.
Investigators found out the renter used the name Robert Cooper, and they found out something else that might make your skin crawl.
So we don't know what selection criteria he used to pick his victim, but we knew he met with Al and he met with some other people. He met with older women, you know, different locations. Some were houses.
A hand-picked victim, a brutal killing. They believe it was all planned out. Police say the man showered at the home after the murder, then used Al's car to drive to a nearby ATM where he took
Crazy.
out $1,000.
I'm sure a lot of people think about the way that he died and what he had to go through. For what? For what? You know, for the thrill of it? I don't think it was for the $1,000 he took. I think it was
Nope.
for the thrill of it.
I agree with you.
Surveillance
agree with
video
her.
from the ATM was useless. The suspect was wearing a ski mask and surgical gloves.
We don't think robbery was the motive. We think that the suspect was looking for someone to kill, actually.
Yep. I like
Along
these
the
guys.
way, the suspect led police astray as they chased cell phone records for a burner phone purchased at 9th and Colorado.
Okay, so remember the burner phone. So there's a burner phone involved in this case. And remember when Coy Cox was addressing the killer in the Stevenson case, he said, contact me if you need to with the burner phone. Let that sink in.
A phone that was ultimately left on Colfax, then ended up in the hands of homeless people. But 15 years later, detectives still have hope that DNA found at the murder scene could lead to the suspect, thanks to new technology.
We have a sketch of where or what we think the suspect may look like from his DNA profile. And most recently, I've been working with the FBI. They have a investigative genealogy unit.
Through genetic genealogy, they can analyze the suspect's DNA.
Okay, now this is what I'm hoping for Jim Duckett's case. If they have DNA, this is what they need to be doing.
In an attempt to trace his family tree and ultimately find him. It's how investigators in California found the Golden State Killer.
They're scientists and experts with the FBI.
A hell of a find.
Narrow that search down.
Detective Sobieski says until that happens, this case is always on his mind.
I think it's because Al was such a true victim. Everybody said he was a really nice guy.
A future stolen by a renter turned killer.
We're going to find him. They're going to find him. I just know it.
Liz
They said the same thing about Jim Duckett. Said he was a great guy. Joey says this kill was personal and he wanted the victim to feel the pain. That's why a knife was used. Yeah, a knife is usually used for a personal attack up close. But I do believe that a serial killer would do the same thing. And here's the suspect sketches of Al Kite's killer. This one kind of looks like Richard Allen, but too tall. 5'10", they said. And they have the case number here. (04-25362). See, this is not a tall guy. Thanks, Jari. Hey, Mel from Cold Truth. How you doing? Another great channel. Good to see you. What do you think about this case? Let me compare both those images here. Let me go to Jim's file and get the ATM photo from that. Kind of the same height, huh? Could be the same build. All right, you guys hold this thought. I'm going to go grab me a bottled water. So I'll be back in like 1 full minute. Alrighty, guys. Thanks for hanging tight. I felt like I was about to lose my voice. Thank you, Miss Thang. If you guys want to go check out the merch shop, appreciate that. But we will be doing a giveaway for you members on the 27th. Here's a good picture of Oakley. Okie, sorry. Joey says, I'm not seeing the serial killer angle so far. At first, I didn't either, and then it all started to kind of click for me. I think we already read that. All right. The basement of the home that Robert Cooper rented consists of 3/4 bath, a family room, laundry area, and a small bedroom where Al's body was found. The only access is from the stairs above, and there is one below grade window in the small bedroom. Now, this is a DNA sketch, a DNA profile. I think along with age progression. So this might be the guy responsible for Oakie's death. Okay. So now Al, he was killed in Colorado. In Aurora. So 2004, 2008. You know, a lot of similarities between the two crimes. And then in Shelbyville, where Jim Duckett was found murdered, is an hour and 19 minutes away from Florence, which is where Bill and Peggy Stevenson were killed. And I think we're going to close out with this, guys. Just a quick little video on the Stevenson case.
Couple described as caring and giving, people of God spreading the word of the Lord. So who would want them dead?
May 29, 2011, which was 7 years ago, that crime scene, of all the crime scenes I've been on, was the most unique by far.
Boone County Detective Coy Cox says this is an old case and not a cold case because he carries it with him every day.
I'm not a young guy, and I've made the comment to many people that the day this case is solved, I'll retire the next day. So yes, it would mean a lot.
7 years ago this month, Bill and Peggy Stevenson were found murdered in their Florence, Kentucky home. Years earlier, WLWT actually did a story on Bill in 2000. He was a deacon at a local church and oversaw the Truckers' Chapel on Kentucky 18, sharing his faith.
Olivia's asking about fingerprints. Doubtful. In all these cases, well, the two cases involving the ATM footage, they were wearing gloves. One, he was wearing surgical gloves, so not likely. I'm just not sure where they got the DNA from.
With men and women who spend most of their lives away from home and on the road.
Breaker 19. Hey guys, this is Truckers Christian Chapel. We're going to have church service in here if you want to come on in and join us.
11 years after we shared this story on our news, Bill and his wife were brutally killed. Cause of death, stabbing, and blunt force trauma. But the crime scene is something investigators and federal experts are still scratching their heads about.
There were symbols. There were items that were used at the scene to indicate strong feelings or opinions about the victims, Bill and Peggy.
Detective Cox says the evidence proves the killer or killers were either with the bodies for several hours or came back to the home long after the murders. No eyewitnesses, no murder weapon found. The home was cleaned, the bodies staged in a certain way, littered with odd items. Cox won't call it a satanic ritual or sacrifice, but he does believe the killer was trying to communicate something. So tonight, the lead detective wants you, the person who did this, to get in touch anonymously, perhaps a letter with no return address, or a disposable burner cell phone. However you do it, Detective Cox is...
Remember in Oki's case out of Aurora, Colorado, they found a burner phone.
ready for you to reach out.
I realize that you're not going to come and sit down and say, hey, I did this, let me tell you what I did. But the why, I think, would be part of what you want us to know, part of the message that you were trying to get to us. And I would ask you to communicate. Well, we'll work with you. I'll communicate back to you in some kind of social form.
The tips keep coming in. Cox and fellow investigators have interviewed hundreds of people of interest. He says circumstantial evidence has narrowed down the search.
We do have, I'm going to say individuals, plural, at this time that we have been
could be
keeping tabs on for 7 years.
Cox says he and his team are tightening the circle, constantly chatting with folks who have had dealings with these people of interest. He says someday that mistake will be made, and he'll get to tell Bill and Peggy's family a killer has been caught.
May not be today, it may not be next month, may not be next year, maybe 10 years down the road. But this case will be solved.
Hopefully. All right, so let's do our best to work on this image. We'll do it. We won't spend much time on it. Just give me a second. I thought I had this program opened, but I did not. Yep, Chicos. Feet beaten is like what military torture tactics are. So maybe that's who this guy is. Maybe he's like illegally immigrated here from another country, somewhere in Eastern Europe, and does petty robberies and things, you know, to get by maybe. I think someone wanted cash and they also took the jewelry. Then because Jim made them mad, or the killer is just a true deviant, the killer enjoyed the viciousness of it all. Yeah, like I'm not, like you thought it was over. You thought this was a simple robbery. But when I was in there, I realized, you know, this would be a perfect place for my next attack. I don't know, Daisy. I don't know if he was undercover. I know that he was a private contractor. And those boys get into some stuff, you know, that we never even hear about. It's a good point. But I don't know. If they were in the United States, they definitely would most likely upgrade to a gun. Cindy, the usual suspects. Yeah, remember he kind of walked with a limp, and he just kind of, and he looked pathetic. I feel like that's what Richard Allen did when he was speaking with Dan Doolin. Like, of course I didn't do anything, little old me, you know. Some people have that personality where they're able to manipulate the way people see them and perceive them. They've spent their whole life learning how to do that because they knew that they were different from a very young age. Yeah, how did he get him tied up? He must have lured him, you know. Okay, so I have the full ATM clip here from Jim Duckett's case. There's no video in the other case, just that screenshot. So I haven't played with this yet, so I'm not exactly sure what's going to happen. So he obviously knew that he was going to be filmed here, right? And this is a shorter guy, in my opinion. Okay, so I think the first thing I'm going to do is the clarity. That'll isolate all the pixels. We'll adjust the curve. Wrong way. Yeah, I don't think the curve's going to help. I think we're going to have to mess with the contrast. Let's try to sharpen it. Oh, man. This one's going to be tough. So that's what it was before. I don't know if that helped. I feel like now we need the tone curve. It's just not helping. Yeah, this is going to need some work. See, the problem with this one is it's blurry. It's not just pixelated. Yeah, I don't know. I'm going to spend some time on that a little bit later. But you guys, that is it. That is all the time I have for today. We're going to catch up on the chat, and then we're out of here. Doris, were all of these guys in the military? I don't think so. I need to spend more time on the other cases. One thing that Bill Stevenson had in common with Jim Duckett apparently was they kind of had a soft spot for the rough element, you know, folks who had a bad turn at life. He would open his, you know, his doors to those folks, letting them know that they had a shot at redemption through Jesus Christ. And he would try to help truckers, criminals, you know, the bad element, the throwaways, people have written off. He would welcome them in. And we all know the dangers of that in true crime. You know, us, we don't trust anybody because we know what happens. You know, when you pick up that hitchhiker, when you trust that guy, or when you let your guards down, we know what happens. But the average everyday person, they're not looking at the world through the true crime lens like we do. You know, they're not the paranoid person in their family. And we're all too happy to be that person, right? Like, it's annoying until you need it, you know, until you need that awareness. And that's the scary part about true crime, is it strikes like lightning. You know, you're not thinking about it. You may not even be somebody who looks into true crime, you know, but it'll hit your family like a bolt of lightning. And things will never be the same, from what I've learned. Once that lightning hits, it's never the same. Not only are these victims murders, but the future, that line that was the line of destiny that had been written, is now erased. The future and the destiny of those families have been completely altered. Yeah, it could be. Cold truth. There's something about this case that reminds me of another case. Are you referring to Jim's case and how similar it is to Okie Kite Jr.'s case? Yeah, they both involved being targeted, possibly a ruse used, tortured, attempted to be robbed at an ATM, vehicle stolen, vehicle found near the victim's home. Yeah, very similar. Very similar. Yeah, the perps look extremely similar. Can't deny that. That's a good point, Violet. Sensei says left pick had a mask, right pick looks like a military scarf. Yeah, so I think they might be trying to track a serial killer. That's just my opinion. Revenge killings. Anything I like. Great information as always. You're welcome. Thanks for hanging out, guys. If you can, share this video. If you're a content creator, let me know. I'll send you everything I have on it if you guys want to cover it. But if you could, please like and share the video. Oh, yeah. Israel Keys. God, what an awful person. Israel Keys. If you guys haven't looked into that nut job. Ruckus interviewed Coy Cox. They had a great interview. You guys want to go check out that video? He interviewed Coy right around the time they were looking into a possible connection, and we know that Alex Voorhees was the person that tipped in that possible connection. They looked into it. Now, if anything was gleaned, I don't know. Hopefully. All right, guys, if you could hit that like button on the way out. If you're not subscribed, consider subscribing. And if you are subscribed, make sure that bell icon is selected. And also consider becoming a member. We try to stay active. Not to mention we have a giveaway on the 27th. You must be present to win. All righty, guys. Take care of yourselves. Enjoy your Monday. And I'll see you again maybe a little bit later today. If not, I'll see you tomorrow morning. Take care.